keep that in mind. So when you think about 35 years, you know, in terms of having a little fun, I thought we'd roll the clock back a little bit to 35 years ago, because it was very different worlds. I myself was in high school 35 years ago. I saw some of my high school friends coincidentally last night, and I can tell you from the stories they told me, and my lack of memory, it was a very different world back then. I'm thinking Giacomo was probably in elementary school. 35 years ago. I'm not sure, but Niels might have still been in diapers. But some of the noteworthy events from 1979, if I did the math right, the Sony Walkman was premiering in 1979. Tom probably had one. Black & Decker had released the now famous cordless mini vacuum, the Dustbuster. Remember that? That's still in play. Jimmy Carter was president, a one-term president, and about this time in 1979, apparently he was attacked by a crazed swamp bunny on a canoe trip in his hometown of Plains, Georgia. So you know that marked the beginning of the end for Mr. Carter. Ronald Reagan was preparing to run for president. The Shah of Iran fell, and the Iranian hostage crisis began. You remember? Everybody's seen Argo? Great movie. The Ayatollah Khomeini was Time Magazine Man of the Year in 1979. Space shuttle program was just starting. 3 Mile Island occurred, the nuclear power plant accident. Margaret Thatcher was elected Prime Minister of the UK. That's for Cliff, who I heard had a crush on her.
I'm going to repeat that.
Paul Volcker was named head of the Federal Reserve. The man that will be haunting my near-term existence. Mother Teresa was named, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Lee Iacocca was named president of Chrysler. Ted Koppel started Nightline as an outgrowth of the coverage of the Iranian hostage crisis, I think. Rhodesia became Zimbabwe. Elaine, cut me off. Feel free to cut me off if I'm getting.
Elaine's at a desk drinking
That's
wine.
what I'm trying to, I was looking for a lot of Norwegian news, but most of it's in Norwegian. But I do have a few tidbits. So in '79, the second oil crisis in about 3 or 4 years hit, and you know, prompting further exploration of the North Sea, and a small burgeoning oil-producing country called Norway discovered the Oseberg oil fields. Is that right? And also the Troll gas field. So I started thinking, wow, they named the gas field after Helene's collection of trolls. And about that time, she started collecting. Pop music, you know, there were still a lot of people who thought Elvis was still alive back in the 70s.
You mean he was dead?
I think he died in '77. See, there you go. There's one right there.
I thought he was still alive now.
The Bee Gees were very popular. Remember them? Pink Floyd released The Wall.
I think Tom had the same hair as one of the Bee Gees.
Rod Stewart's #1 hit, Do You Think I'm Sexy? Hit the charts. That was one of Tom's favorites. Right? My Sharona by The Knack. Remember that one? And Escape. Who knows about Escape? Rupert Holmes? That was the Pina Colada song? Do you remember that Pina Colada song? The Village People were beginning to sing YMCA. And if Andy was here, he could give us a few minutes on why YMCA was suing the Village People over this song. In entertainment, you know, MASH, Three's Company, Flo, The Jeffersons, Dukes of Hazzard, all were popular TV shows. All in the Family taped their 200th episode. Apocalypse Now was out in the movies. Remember Robert Duvall's famous quote, "Love the smell of napalm in the morning." A little slice of Americana for you. This was an interesting piece of news. Monty Python released Life of Brian back in '79, and apparently, I didn't know this, but Norway banned its showing for a year because of the controversial nature of the religious. So it even sounds like Norway is a different place 35 years ago.
I had to go to Stockholm.
In the world of sports, because so much of us are all about sports around here, right? ESPN began broadcasting in 1979, I believe that. So before that, ESPN wasn't around. And if you remember, they were desperate for content back then, so they were showing a whole boatload of Australian football at all hours of the day and night back then. And, you know, I don't know what that was, but it wasn't football. It wasn't soccer either. Something strange. But Magic Johnson was leading Michigan State over Larry Bird at Indiana State for the NCAA championship in basketball 35 years ago tonight. Pittsburgh was title town with the World Series and the Super Bowl going to the Pirates and the Steelers back then. The Supersonics won their first and only NBA championship. Herb Brooks was putting together his Miracle Olympic team in late '79. And there was actually, if you've seen the movie Miracle, a huge reference to that team playing the Norwegian national team in Oslo, training for the Olympics. And Herb Brooks was so distraught over their lackluster performance, the Norwegian team tied them. He had them running skating wind sprints for an hour after the match was over, the game was over. They would turn the lights out on him and on him. Tom had tickets, but he was a new guy in town. He had to work late that night. My New York Islanders were beginning the first of 4 straight Stanley Cups, a record that will never be broken. Billy Martin, for you Yankee fans, was both hired and fired for the second time by the Yankees, and then rehired by the A's, all in the same year. There was no interleague baseball back then, so the Mets and the Yankees played a 1-1 tie in the April 16th, the Mayor's Trophy game out at Shea. This is a good one. The Philadelphia Phillies, fan, that's baseball. They wore burgundy uniforms for the first and last time, if you can imagine. Ricky Henderson stole his first base. The famous disco demolition night took place at the old Comiskey Park in Chicago, where fans rioted, and the White Sox had to forfeit the second game of their doubleheader. What's a doubleheader, you say? You know, we don't play doubleheaders anymore, right? This is good. The Astros signed Nolan Ryan to a then record 4-year, $4.5 million contract. Last week, Miguel Cabrera, the Tigers, signed a 10-year, $292 million contract. That's how things have changed. The Yankee captain, Thurman Munson, was killed in a plane crash. That was a very sad day for everybody in New York. And it's not Norwegian, right, unless you talk about the weather a little bit. So there's a place called Old Forge, New York. On February 18th, 1979, the temperature dropped to a record 52 degrees below zero. That's not wind chill. That's Fahrenheit. 47 centigrade, minus 47. Same day, I don't know if there's any connection, but snow fell in the Sahara. So clearly there was no global warming back then. And an estimated, for those that complain about the rain, an estimated 43 inches of rain fell in Alvin, Texas in July that year. So anyway, so, you know, seriously, I know how difficult the audit function is. It's a very difficult job, especially if you're flying solo. And it's remarkable how Tom executes it with poise, grace, personality, and professionalism. It's really a credit to what he does. And compliments from compliance to audit don't come easily. But he's easily one of the finest auditors I've ever encountered, at least in the last 35 years. Congratulations, Tom. Let's look forward to the next 35. And I just hope you're not auditing the whole time.